Right, hello everyone. It's me back again featuring the dull hum of a PlayStation 2 because for some reason the new PlayStation 2 I bought to replace my old one just with Madden 2002 just cannot do it. I mean, it just struggles to do it. It's clearly doing it right now, as you can see, but it is just struggling to do it along. And my mic sitting on my desk picks up a lot of that, I believe. But I think I should be loud enough to at least it shouldn't hurt too bad. But maybe if you're a headphone user, you'll just hear a dull hum for the entirety of the video. So I'll try and not ramble as much as I normally do in these videos, but I haven't done like a live commentary to any kind of recording I've done in a long time. I think since the Cowboys series, I did the first two off seasons, like kind of a live commentary on that video, or the Raiders, I think too. I think the first two Raiders off seasons I also did that, but I tried to stop doing it because try to do a little bit more scripted stuff. It just sounds better when I know what to say rather than just kind of going off the top of the dome. Even though I'm very articulate when I ramble, it's just better to just get the points out in front of you rather than just ramble at people. But we do have a new series, regardless. That is the big thing that we're here today to talk about and to do. It is going to be another Madden 2002 series now. With both college football and pro football, I wanted to skew newer after both the Cowboys and the Bama series, but my bread and butter is just these older games. So the next college series is probably either going to be in 03 or even maybe even in 04 again. I'm going to try and avoid 04 since my two longest series have been in that game, and I'm sure you guys probably want to see a little bit more of the more popular games on the PS2 like 06 or maybe even 05 again, since the Idaho series didn't go all that well. From a lot of standpoints, but at least when it comes to Madden, I'm a lot more comfortable playing these older Madden games. I just kind of enjoy them more. I like how straightforward the franchise mode kind of is, and it's not entirely easy since the sim settings are kind of broken all the time. So like you could have an amazing roster and still lose 9 games in a season. So it's not exactly quote unquote easier, but I think it's a lot. I think it's easier maybe or more straightforward at least to just build your roster and like build the team, and you don't have all the stuff like holdouts and restricted free agents and stuff like that, which it makes it more realistic. Obviously, that's what makes those games so much better. I'm not saying that this game is better because it doesn't have those things. I just enjoy playing these games more. They're a little bit easier to record and go through the seasons, which I think is a little bit better. And so this one is supposed to hold the place that the Cowboys series was initially supposed to be. Because I intended for the Cowboys series originally to just run however long it was going to run, and then once I lost my job or was going to lose my job in that series, I was going to end it. But then once I realized that I could just create the new coach and just keep going, I was like, well, the Cowboys series can pretty much just go for however long it needs to go, and I fully intended for that to happen until the file got corrupted. So every series I've done since on the channel, any video that's been posted, it's been from 2 different file locations, so that's what we're going to do with this one too. Hopefully try and get around the PS2's quirkiness. But now let's actually talk about the game at hand, and we are going to be taking over the Buffalo Bills. Now I was back and forth between the Bills and another NFC team, but since the Raiders series, I'm trying to bounce back and forth between each conference when I do Madden series, and since the Raiders series was so short, I figured I'd stay in the AFC and do the Bills, because the Bills are a very interesting team around this time to try and rebuild. In this game, the season that's in this game, the 01-02 season, the Bills actually get a brand new head coach. So after a couple years of playoff disappointments in the late 90s, the Bills would eventually fire their coach and go into the new millennium with a brand new coach, new regime, and they had a few meddling seasons, around 500, a game or so above 500 even, but they would not make the playoffs. So they have a pretty substantial playoff drought in the 2000s that we're going to try and correct and try and fix, and hopefully fix this roster sooner rather than later. So there you see all my settings. I'm leaving everything on: trade deadline, salary cap penalties. I'd love to turn off cap penalties because this roster has a ton of like rookies and like first year pros that are in like the 40s and 50 overalls, and like they're going to add a few $100,000 to our cap penalties. But we're going to get into it and maybe see. We'll try and manage it. It'll add a little bit of difficulty to managing our salary cap because there's a lot of poor talent on this roster that just needs to be gone. The fact that we're paying the money is just ridiculous. But fantasy draft obviously off, and then of course we have the expansion draft because we will be getting the Texans. I wonder if you turn that off, if it'll just stay in the old NFL format forever. I guess or maybe just get rid of the expansion draft and the Texans just join and have to like rely on free agency in the draft. I don't know. I've never tried that, but we're obviously going to keep it on. Maybe the Texans will take a lot of these bad players off of our roster when we go to the expansion draft. Who knows? But we'll get into this now. Our coach is going to be Cliff Harris. I don't know if I can view him. Will it let me view him? No, it won't. So I guess, I don't know. He's a large dude with glasses. That's all that really is important. But we'll see him in the video footage and stuff. So let's get into the franchise now. Now that I've rambled for 5 minutes, which is something I was trying to avoid doing, but I've already filled up the space with my stupid rambling. So now we're already in this. But the first thing that we're obviously going to do is get into our rosters and just look at what we have. So the quarterback situation already off rip is horrendous. We have Rob Johnson, who is the starter, and we're going to get into the money, but he's making like a lot of money. I've already went through and thumbed through this just to kind of figure out what I was going to talk about, and so I wasn't just rambling through this like I have in the past, but too late. But Rob Johnson is the starting quarterback here. He's a 6-year pro. There's a little bit of rules. I'm going to try and make some ground rules to make this a little bit difficult to start this off. If there are veterans that are like 10 years or over and they're really good, we will keep them. And if they're 4 or 5 years and they're really good, we will also keep them. But anything in between that, I'm going to try and get rid of, because this roster is going to be like a rebuilding type roster, and a lot of the players that we have on here, we'll have some 80-something overall players who are like 7-year pros on the team, already firmly in their second or third contract, that would probably make more sense to trade as an asset rather than try and build around. Because in the Cowboys series, I really just took that roster as it was and just kind of built around it and changed a few of the key positions like quarterback and like running back. But like the core of like the defense and even the offensive line was mostly just what was already on that roster. So in this game, I'm going to try and change that a little bit and get rid of a lot of those good players that we have that have already been hanging around the Bills for a while and probably just need to get gone. And we can probably get some picks for them by moving them. So we're going to be trading a lot in this video as well. But if they're a younger player that's like maybe in the beginning of their second contract, it doesn't make a ton of sense to trade them. Like we'll see Eric Moulds, I think, is on a huge deal. It's his second deal, like after his rookie deal, and so we're probably going to end up keeping him, even though he's a 5-year pro. And then we have some older players, obviously, who are probably going to retire with us, so we'll keep them around as well. But here's the quarterback situation. It's not good. So we don't have a backup at all. So if Rob Johnson gets injured at any point in the season, that's going to be a done deal. So we're going to see if we can fix this. I know Trent Dilfer is sitting in free agency, and I think he's even cheaper than Rob Johnson is, so that might actually be a move that we look to make. But we have to be able to get rid of Rob Johnson and his money first before we can even do that, so we'll look into that. But at running back, we have 2 young running backs in Sammy Morris and a rookie Travis Henry. They're both at 70 or above, and so one of these 2 guys is going to pan out since they're young. So we probably don't need to worry about running back, at least for now, but it will probably be at least a good season or 2 away from when these guys are actually like ready to contribute at a major level on this offense. But having both of them, having 2 serviceable running backs is a good place to be in. And Sean Bryson's not a terrible option at 68 either, so he might become something too. We don't know. But at fullback, this is exactly what I'm talking about. So Larry Centers, 11-year pro. He's a 92 overall. We're not going to trade an 11-year pro fullback. Like we're just going to keep him. He'll probably retire with us, or when his contract expires, we'll just let him walk. And so that'll be the fullback situation. And then Eric Moulds is our top receiver at 89. He's a 5-year pro. And then it's a steep fall off to 70 with Peerless Price, a 2-year pro, Peerless Price, I guess entering his 3rd season, at a 70 overall. So between these 2, we can expect great things in the future. Peerless Price might be an interesting situation a couple seasons when contract stuff happens. We'll see how he develops, but outside of that, that's really kind of it. Jeremy McDaniel we can kind of survive with at a 2-year pro because he might also improve as well, but the rest of this receiving core is just nothing, dude. All 3 of these guys need to get gone, need to be somewhere else. We need to sign other free agents, which that's going to be another rule and stipulation I also have, is that with free agents, we're not going to sign anybody over a certain threshold. They need to be young, so 4 years or lower NFL experience, and we're able to sign them, because there's a lot of like high 70s and 80 overall players in free agency that are all like 8, 9, 10 plus year pros that are like on the way out to face retirement. So it would make sense to sign a couple of them. If there's a position that we really need the help, I might bypass that, but I'm trying to keep the team young here because we're going to be rebuilding in year 1, so I want to keep a young core and move forward with that and not just have a bunch of, serviceable old veterans that are going to retire within a season or 2 and we'll go back to sucking again. So at tight end, we have Jay Remersma. Either way, he's a 4-year pro here. He's at 84, so tight end's actually in a pretty good spot. We have depth at that position too, which we don't necessarily need, but we have a good starting situation at tight end. It's probably one of the few positions on this Bills team that's actually in a good spot right now. John Fina's a 9-year pro, so he kind of fits this bill of like being in that 9-10 plus range. Just a veteran who's probably been here for most of his career here, and there's probably no sense to trade him. I don't know if he has a ton of value at a 9-year pro, so we'll probably just let him stick around, especially because we have absolutely nothing behind him, like literally nothing behind him at all. Ruben Brown's a good example of a tradable asset, so we'll probably be trading Ruben Brown because he's a 7-year pro here at a 92 overall. We could probably get like a second or a first for him. We're going to certainly try to do that and get some draft capital back for Ruben Brown, but he will probably be leaving, and we might need to sign somebody out of free agency to play left guard because Craig Hermberger is probably not going to stick it at a 64 overall. We have a young situation at center, so we have a 1-year pro in his second season. Randall Cummins is starting at center at a 63 overall. Since he's a young player, I'd like to kind of let him develop and see exactly where that goes, but at 63, it's going to be tough for the first season, have a 63 overall center. Jerry Ostrowski is another example of a movable asset, but he's only 73 overall, so we'll probably let him stick around because he's probably not going to get a whole lot better than this, and he's already not very good to begin with, so I don't think there's a ton of money to be gotten out of him. So, but at right tackle, we have Robert Hicks, which is a good young asset at 72 overall. I'd like to see things from him. Hopefully he has a good first year with us and can get up to maybe the high 70s. We could start seeing a little bit more, but who knows? And then, of course, there's nothing behind him. More 40 overalls. I don't know why this roster is so many 40s. The Bills, if I was a Bills fan in 2002 playing this game, I would be absolutely livid that they did my roster so dirty, but I'm not. So, and then Phil Hansen is a 10-year pro at left end at a 76. He's another player that we'll just let stick around, just another veteran presence on the roster here. He's going to hold down the left side. And then on the right side is another 76 overall, but it's Eric Flowers, a young Eric Flowers after just one season at a 76. So we'll probably expect some big things out of him in the coming seasons. And then we have a little bit, a rookie, Aaron Scoble, behind him at a 66. So that may turn into something too. We don't know. And then we also have a young Pat Williams at defensive tackle at 76 overall. He's entering his 4th season, so we are perfectly within our right to keep him on this roster, especially because, again, there's nothing behind him, like absolutely nothing behind him in terms of depth. So Pat Williams will be sticking around for the foreseeable future. And then Sam Cohort is another great prospect to have on this team. He's the best asset that we do have right now on as far as the young talent goes, heading into a rebuild. So we will definitely be building around him and keeping him on our linebacking core. He's only entering his 4th season at a 94 overall already. He's great. I love having him on the roster. He will be very effective for us. And then we have John Holisic, who's another movable asset. He's only a 6-year pro at an 84 overall. He would make a ton of sense to trade. With the lack of depth we have at the middle linebacker position, we could probably move either Corey Moore or Jay Foreman probably there, and they'd probably be better than both of these guys at middle linebacker. Or, of course, we could look to free agency and maybe add somebody as well. But John Holisic is probably going to be another asset that we look to trade and move and get some draft picks with. Keith Newman is another young player at 72. We might see something from him. We might not. I'm not sure what kind of ceiling Newman probably has, but again, he's young, so sky's the limit, right? Theoretically, it is. Cornerback room is actually pretty decent compared to the rest of the position groups on this team. We at least have 3 guys in the 70s, which is serviceable, but I'm sure compared to the rest of the NFL, especially in our division in the AFC East, it's probably not that great. So Antoine Winfield here, a young Antoine Winfield at the top at 79. He will probably get a lot better. Kevin Irvin at 6-year pro. I don't know how much more we can really expect out of him. And then Nate Clements is a rookie at a 73 overall. So I think between Clements and Winfield, we might actually have a pretty solid 1 and 2, maybe by year like 3 if we keep both of them around. So, but that's how the cornerback room is holding up. And then we have Keon Carpenter, who's a 2-year free safety at 75. So there's a lot of young guys on this team. So clearly the Bills were kind of building something here. And I know in real life, I'm sure a lot of these guys just did not like pan out like Buffalo thought that they would. But in this game, who knows? So big seasons from Keon Carpenter could get them up. Big seasons from Winfield and Clemens could get them up. You know, like big seasons from Newman could get them up a long way. So that's hopefully what we're looking for in this first couple of years. And then we have Henry Jones, who's another veteran on the team, but he's an 81, and we will be keeping him because he's a 10-year pro. We're probably just going to keep him until he retires or until his contract expires, whichever one comes first. But he will be here as well. So we have 2 pretty movable assets off rip. Steve Christie is our kicker, 11-year pro. We could probably honestly get a better kicker in free agency, but you know, screw it, we'll just stick with him. And then we have a rookie punter. So nice to know we don't have to worry about punter for a little while here. But yeah, looking over the rest of the roster here, Ruben Brown's a piece that we're probably going to move away from. And then of course John Holisic is another one that we're going to try and get some value out of. And the rest of the roster is probably going to be in pretty rough shape. So now let's look at the money situation before we start getting into trades and stuff, because the money situation is rough. So Rob Johnson is making a ton of money. He's making over $5 million a year to be awful on this team. So I'm going to try and trade Rob Johnson just to see if someone will take that money. Like, I'll literally take a 7th-round pick for him. I don't care. We just need that money off the books, and I'm going to try and get Trent Dilfer out of free agency because he's 2 overall points higher and would be cheaper. I think Trent Dilfer would only take less than $3 million, like $2.5 million. So he'd literally be half the money, and he'd be better than Rob Johnson is. So we're going to try and get rid of him. And then running back situation is completely cheap, and all these guys are on for a good amount of years, so we don't have to worry there. We only have 1 year left of Larry Centers, so I don't know if he's going to retire after the season, but it's a tough situation maybe to be in, because if he's good for another season, he'd be great to have on as a 92 overall fullback, especially because he might be anchoring our run game a little bit more than Sammy Morris or Travis Henry might, but already as a veteran, I'm trying to get away from having veteran presences on the team since we're trying to get younger and get newer. So we might have to keep an eye on that. Eric Moulds is on an absolute monster of a deal, and at an 89 overall, it makes sense, but I can't justify spending over $7 million on anybody in this game. I don't think I've ever done it. We got close, I think, in the Cowboys series with some of them. Like Chuck Dunn, I think, might have got close to that, but dude, over $7 million, like firmly over 7, like 7.6 is ridiculous money for Eric Moulds, but I guess it does make sense. He's the anchor of this offense right now, so it makes a ton of sense. It's kind of like how Joey Galloway was when Joey Galloway wanted over $7 million in the Cowboys series. I get it, but at a 5-year pro, we'll see how that happens, man, because injuries might derail this, and I'm not sure, but I don't like paying that much money for Eric Moulds, but right now I think the rest of the roster is very cheap, as you can clearly see, so we could probably afford to do this right now, but in a couple seasons that might actually be a contract that needs to get moved. And then, everyone else is on pretty affordable, cheap rookie deals, so we're okay there. Jay Ramirzma is actually making pretty big money for a tight end, but again at 84. So it looks like we're overpaying for, like, the few pieces that we actually do have on the team. Like, a lot of these guys are not, like, worth that kind of money. But I don't think paying 2.8 for this caliber of tight end is that bad either. And we have him for 3 years, so I think that's, a decent contract. After that contract expires, who knows? But for right now, I think it's okay. And then John Fina is making a little over 2 for the next 4 seasons. That's a good contract. I'll take it. That's a big contract for Ruben Brown. And with the 5 years left, that tells me that's probably a new contract. So, maybe the Bills re-signed him and, we're going to rebuild around him. And maybe that makes sense to do. But, again, for the sake of the challenge, make this a little bit difficult, I'm going to try and get rid of him. Our offensive line is going to be a little bit rough in year number 1. Probably won't be able to protect the quarterback nearly as much as we probably would like to. Center position, so both these guys are only on 1 year left, so Randall Cummins only in his 2nd year, so the Bills were really not that confident in him long term, so maybe center is a position we're going to have to invest in early in the following season, or in the first off season. So Ostrowski making over $2 million at 73, that's awful. I might want to get rid of him just because that money is just bad, dude. That's not good. That's a lot of money for Jerry Ostrowski. That's not great. You're definitely not earning your money on that contract. So, look at this. We have Robert Hicks, who's on his rookie deal, making, far less than Ostrowski is. And he's also younger. So, either way. Moving forward, Phil Hansen, again, another player, sub 80 overall that we're paying over $2 million. I don't like it at all, but he's a vet. We'll see if he even finishes this contract. I would imagine he probably does, but he might make it after this season and just call it a career. So we might lose that money after the season anyway. 3 years left with Eric Flowers. We'd like to see that. It's an inexpensive deal, but that re-signing, especially if he gets over 80 overall, is going to be brutal. That's going to be rough in a couple seasons. And then Pat Williams is on a very team-friendly deal here. Very team-friendly. Only $500,000 for the next 3 years. We could get Pat Williams close to an 85 before that contract is done, and that would be absolute massive value. That might be the slight window. The window might be year 3 if that's the case. And then same with Sam Coer, dude. 1 year left on this deal at $800K, but re-signing him is going to be an absolute travesty. So we might be in a tough spot trying to bring back Sam Coer. He's one of those rookie pieces that everyone in the fan base wants to keep, but it makes more sense to get rid of him. But I'm going to try and keep him since we're already going to get rid of 2 of the better players on this team because they're older. I'm going to try and keep Sam Coer and re-sign him. We're going to see if we can keep him around, keep him a bill, and then we're going to get rid of this money here with John Holisek because we're going to try and move him. So that'll free up almost $3 million on the cap, which is nice. We don't have a ton of cap room, which is another problem with this team. The team is really awful, and there's not a ton of cap room. So. And then we have 1 year left with Keith Newman. Re-signing him will probably be pretty cheap. I don't know. He might ask for $1 million, which wouldn't be worth it at all. But we'll see how good he does in the season, where he gets up to progression-wise, and it might be worth re-signing him. And then the cornerback room is a little bit cheap. I hate this deal with Ken Irvin. That's actually pretty bad, but it's only 1 year. So after the season, he'll be gone, and we'll probably just let him walk and just stick with Nate Clements and Antoine Winfield. We'll probably just have them at 1 and 2 and just sign some depth pieces like Chris Watson type guys to fill in the spot that Ken Irvin is going to leave. But we'll probably just stick with this money for the year to be, I don't know. There might be something we could get for him, but I don't even know if it's worth it. We don't have the depth really to trade him away. So I don't want to sign too many guys out of free agency, but that might be what we end up doing. We have also 1 year left with Keon Carpenter, so kind of similar to Keith Newman. We'll see exactly where he gets to after this season, and he might be worth re-signing. He might be asking for more money than he's worth. Who knows? We'll just keep an eye on it. And then Henry Jones, 2 more years at that cap hit, which is good. At an 81 overall, strong safety, I think that's fine, but we can probably expect him to regress, not progress. So he'll probably get into like the high to mid 70s by the time the contract is done, if he plays the remainder 2 years of it. So it's not great. Paying the kicker $1 million for that production is pretty gross, actually. I don't like paying a kicker $1 million, and he's a 72 overall, especially when I think free agency probably has a better kicking situation. So, but that is currently how the roster is going to stack up. So I'm going to look for some deals for Ruben Brown and John Holisek, and then I will chime back in when I have a deal set up. So I'll cut back in a second. Okay, so I've already cooked up a deal here for Ruben Brown. It's going to free up a little bit of money. I immediately found a trade partner in the Denver Broncos, but Ruben Brown would be too much burden on their salary cap, and so I added Tunavasa, and because he's making a little over $1 million, so we needed to free up like $1.05 million from the Broncos cap in order to make this trade go through, and 1.25, we'll take that on for the next 3 seasons, because as bad as he is at a 64 overall, like, that's a bad contract to take on, but he's actually the second best defensive tackle on the roster now if we complete this trade. So so we'll see if this goes through, because it might give me a whole roster thing, but the Broncos are willing to give me their first round pick in addition, so that's the big thing I'm after, is their first round pick, because I do not think the Broncos will be very good in this first season, so that actually should be a pretty high value pick. But we're going to see if we can execute this trade here, see if the game will let us do it. Yes, it did. Okay, perfect. So we already got rid of Ruben Brown here. Got an extra first-round pick, which is going to be massive in this first season, dude. Absolutely massive. And so now we're going to see if we can find a deal here for Holisek. And so I will chime back in. Oh, here you can see here. So, yeah, Monta Navasa already the second-best defensive tackle on the roster. He's now the most expensive, which isn't great. But, we'll take on the bad money here to free up the money that we got rid of with Ruben Brown. So we're going to see if we can get rid of John Holisek now, and I will chime back in with a better deal. Okay, so we found another trade here, and the Colts. So this is, bear with me here, okay? Because technically in year number 1, this is a divisional trade, because the Colts are in the AFC East in this first season before the Texans get added and the South gets created and all that jazz. But we do have the Colts in our division this season, so this is technically an interdivisional trade, which I know people kind of weird on, but I don't think it's going to matter, because we're probably not going to contend in our division at all this season, so I'm not super worried about it. But, again, another situation where we can get rid of some money, send out a good player here, get on a high-value pick in that first-round pick, and I'm trying not to just abuse bad teams, because I think I could probably get one from the Chargers as well, who are going to be really bad. But I think the Colts will actually at least contend a little bit with a young Peyton Manning and their young offensive core. So they should actually be a little bit better. So this kind of makes sense that they would be taking on like a better middle linebacker, to increase or improve their defense before the season starts. It makes a little bit of sense. So I'm going to take an extra first-round pick. So this is going to be our third first-round pick of next year's draft. And I'm also going to take on Mike Morton, who, again, much like Tunavana, or the defensive tackle that we took with the Polynesian name. Much like him, Mike Morton immediately becomes the best middle linebacker on our roster. He's actually cheap, unlike Tunavada. So we're going to take Mike Morton on for still significantly cheaper, freeing up some money on the cap and getting an extra first-round pick. So let's see here. Boom, perfect. So now let's take a look again, just to see it in all of its glory here, just to see how this looks. Yeah, look at that. We have 3 first-round picks. So I think the max is 10 you can have. So you have 7, you know what I mean? And now, so what? Do I have my 10 here, or can I add one more? So we're going to see if I can get rid of Rob Johnson, because it's the last deal I want to try and make. We're going to see if we can move Rob Johnson and his money. Look at that. Look how much money that frees up, dude. Oh, that would be beautiful for the first-year roster, as bad as ours is, because we still need to go in and fix a lot with free agency still, and add some guys here and maybe get rid of a couple guys. Like, I hate having Pete Gonzalez here. I don't know why he's here. just all these low 40s guys, you know what I mean? So we're going to look into that, but I'd love to get rid of this money. That would help out tremendously. So we're going to see if I can get like a 7th round pick from a team that like just needs a quarterback or something. So we'll see if I can get that money gone now. Okay, guys, found a very interesting deal here on the table. So it looked, I went through the entire roster, and there was a few teams I found that like could use Rob Johnson, or at least like have him on the roster, but very few teams actually have the cap space for him. That just tells you how terrible the contract is. But I did find the Bengals. So the Bengals quarterback situation is very bad, right? So their starting quarterback is John Kitna, is 71 overall. So Rob Johnson immediately becomes the best quarterback on the roster for the Bengals. And then they also have a young Achilles Smith who's already in Madden 02. In Madden 01, he's like already like an 80-something, but in this game, he's already a 66. So he's dropped off quite tremendously. And look again, maybe, see how... Yeah, just in his second year. So after one bad season, rookie season, the Bengals already like, yeah, dude, the writing's on the wall here. We're going to rock with John Kitna this season. It's not going to go well probably, but there's still 5 years left of Achilles Smith on that rookie deal here, almost $2 million, which is significantly cheaper than Rob Johnson is. And more importantly, the Bengals are willing to give up a 2nd-round pick for Rob Johnson. So that's like the big thing. So I'm still probably going to go get Trent Dilfer out of free agency, but now having Achilles Smith, we have an actual backup on the roster now, and I have an extra pick. So we'll see if this trade will go through. Maybe we've maxed out our draft picks here. No. So perfect. Okay, so now we have an extra 2nd and 3 first, dude. Like this, oh my god, yeah. I'm already cooking. I'm cooking. Yeah, I'm cooking. Let's just say that. So I think that's all the trades I'm going to do now. Now I'm going to go through free agency and see if we can build up a little bit here. Let's see if I can go to the breakdown, see how much space we actually have. So what's the max here? Is it 50? Or is it 55? Is that the max? I think we have a little bit of room here. I need to go get a guard, and yeah, I'm going to sign a Trent Dilfer. So yeah, here's Trent Dilfer here. He's pretty young too, at 28. And I know the year thing kind of messes up my whole situation, but at quarterback, I'm gonna bypass. I'm gonna go for it. You guys can yell at me in the comments if you do not want me to do that, but I'm gonna stick with Trent Dilfer because we at least need somebody to play quarterback. I mean, paying $5 million for Rob Johnson didn't make sense, but look at that. Trent Dilfer is half the money. And how about this? A compromise. I'll just sign Trent Dilfer for the year. We'll just give him a 1-year deal. Actually, go 2 years. Go 2 years. Is 2 years fair, guys? I think 2 years is fair. Give me 2 years. Yeah, we'll go 2 years with Trent Dilfer, and then we'll look in the draft to see if we can upgrade from Trent Dilfer, and maybe he'll be traded in year number 2, or he'll be our backup in year number 2. But we'll send an offer to Trent Dilfer, and he's coming. Okay, so Trent Dilfer is now a member of the Buffalo Bills, baby. We now have Trent Dilfer. I'm trying to find him. I'm trying to get to him. There he is. Trent Dilfer is now our starting quarterback here. We have Achilles Smith sitting behind him on his rookie deal. We probably won't use Achilles Smith really much at all, but at least we have a backup now, so we don't have to rely on Van Pelt and Gonzalez here at 49 and 43 to take up the snaps here. So between at least these two quarterbacks, we should at least be able to compete even when we don't have a good quarterback situation. So another area I want to fix is the receiving core, because I really don't want these guys here at all. I'll leave the rookie here, sure, but like these guys need to just get gone completely, and I think I might even take the cap penalty to do it, and then I'll probably just sign like a better receiver somewhere in this range here, a young one. We'll see if there's one in free agency who's even kind of worth spending the money on right now. Who fits my mold here. So yeah, look, 16 years, 12 years, 5 years is good for Derek Mays, but I'm going to try and avoid that here. Thinking that 9 years, so Darnell McDonald might be a good option here. He's a young player at 64. He might grow a little bit too. He's very cheap as well, so he'd probably make more sense financially than one of these other 50 overalls we have on the roster. So I'm going to make that move very quickly here. Okay, boom. So now Darnell McDonald is a member of the Bills here. I'm not sure how many reps or receptions, how many passes he's going to see on the Bills here, but we at least have, 4 guys here over 60 that, we can at least throw the ball to. So we're not relying on a bunch of 50s and 40s on the roster to do that. So I really don't think the team is really getting that much better, like a ton better, but, we're doing something, I guess. So we're going to see if we can upgrade at guard, I guess, because we do need to sign another one. So I'm going to go see if we can get a better guard than at left or even right guard. We'll just see how the year's playing up here. Let's just flip through free agency real quick and see what the guard situation looks like in free agency. So at left guard here, there's not a ton, man. There's only a handful of them, and they're all kind of old. So it doesn't look like we'll be able to get a huge upgrade based on my own parameters right now at left guard. So a lot of these guys are cheap. We'll see if we have to sign a guy like this. I'm going to try and avoid it, but we'll see what's at right guard. Okay, right guard, we have a lot more variety here. So Brian DeMarco, man, he's a big face on this channel. I love Brian DeMarco. I typically sign him a lot, but we're going to bypass him for this series and then look throughout. Jamie Nails at a 4-year, 25 years old, less than $1 million. That's probably where we're looking. So I'm going to sign Jamie Nails here to be our backup guard on the roster. We're just probably going to we'll give him 2 years here. We'll just see what happens. And cool. So now we have a guard here, and the roster breakdown should be good now. Yeah, I think we're maxed out on our roster. I don't know if there's anywhere else on the roster where I'm kind of really aching to get an immediate upgrade. We probably are just going to go in with this roster and just kind of make our bed with it, really. Yeah, the offensive line's really bad. The guard situation isn't great. I mean, there's really not anything good. I think left tackle is really kind of it. Yeah, it's the only place where we're kind of good, and that's an old position, so we're probably going to lose that pretty soon. Running back position has potential, but it's younger. Quarterback situation is just kind of being held together right now. Receiving core has zero depth to it whatsoever. Defensive line, not great either. Has potential, but right now it's not really great. We're going to need to keep an eye on it and just see exactly how it develops here. But there is potential here, but it's not great right now. Linebacking core here with Sam Cohort kind of anchoring things down. That's really kind of it. We kind of have holes elsewhere. Again, I could probably sign someone in the middle linebacking area and get rid of one of these two guys to maybe make it better. I guess we'll look real quick and see what free agency has for middle linebackers, if there is just something better than the 65 that we have. So these guys are all pretty expensive. Everyone over 70 is all kind of older, kind of getting up there in age. So, because again, this is why I instigated that rule, because with, if I just sign any age of player, we could pretty much upgrade this roster into a playoff caliber roster in one season, which is not the point of this. We're trying to build this slowly and fully go into this rebuild, the same way that the actual in real life Buffalo Bills did. So, but we're just going to try and do it quicker and get back to playing playoff football and winning football before they did. So, yeah, the only cheap player that fits our parameters here is Kivusama Mays, and yeah, he's not better than who we got now. So we're probably just going to stick with what we have and just kind of bite the bullet on that. So the linebacking core is really kind of thin outside of Sam Cohort, which we kind of expect here, but we'll probably be able to at least survive there. Injuries is going to be brutal, but I think for now, I think we'll survive. We'll be okay. Cornerback room has a little bit of depth to it. I kind of want one extra one. I'd like to have another one. I might cut one of these 50 overall dudes and grab an extra cornerback, maybe. We don't need the depth there. If there's anywhere else we need better players over 70 overall, it's linebacker, offensive line. So I might just leave it where it is just to keep the money where it's at, because we're over $10 million. I'd like to stay there right now. But yeah, cornerback room has a lot of potential as well. We have two very young guys and an older guy who will probably be losing, but they're all pretty decent. So it's probably the best position group on the roster right now, outside of maybe running back. Keon Carpenter, again, safety situation is good as well for now. I don't think it's going to stay that way, but free safety should get better, but strong safety is going to be a pretty big question mark after the season. It's going to be a massive question mark. So, and then the kicking situation is not good either. I'm just going to look at kicker. Just give me a second to look at kicker. I'll just consider it. No, that's kind of it. We could probably go cheaper, but, not a whole lot younger. So we'll just stick with what we have. But this is the roster, how it's going to be for year number one. It's not great at all. We do have a good amount of, 80s. We have a handful of 80 and 90 overall players, but it's not really enough to compete, obviously. I think we are definitively the worst team in our division. I don't think we have the worst quarterback situation. I think the Dolphins have us beat on that one. But, yeah, for right now, our roster is really not in a good spot. So, but that is how that's going to go. I figured there'd be a little bit more to do, but that's honestly all I kind of want to do. I thought maybe I'd be able to do more with free agency, but there's not a lot of young guys just sitting and waiting in free agency for us to come and swoop them in. So, or come in and swoop them up. There we go. But so now we're going to take a look at the take a look at the schedule before we get on out of here. So we're going to kick things off with the Saints here, and then we have a 2-game road trip, divisional games between the Dolphins and the Colts. Then we're home with the Steelers and the Jets visiting before we get a Week 6 bye week. So that's going to be the deadline. I don't know if there's any other players on the roster currently that I would deal at the deadline. I think we traded every player that I'm willing to get rid of. If there's some more money, I think we can get rid of. And then this first 5 games is bad. We're 0-5 or 1-5 or 1-4. Then we might get rid of some more money just to free up some cap space for the rest of the season. But ultimately, I think we'll probably stay put at the deadline in year number one, since we already made the deals we need to. Then out of the bye week, we were on the road for Thursday Night Football with the Jags, and then we were playing a later game against the Chargers in Qualcomm. Then we're back home with the Colts before hitting the road again to play the Patriots on the road, and then we're back home with the Seahawks, who are in the AFC for this season, mind you. The Seahawks are still in the AFC for year one of this before they make the switch to the NFC in year number 2. Then we have the Dolphins at home again, and then we're on the road to San Francisco. So, man, we got some far road trips. We go all the way to San Fran and San Diego within like 5 or 6 weeks. That's brutal. We have the Panthers at home, and then the Patriots at home, and then we are on the road to the Georgia Dome to play the Falcons, and then we finish in East Rutherford to play the Jets. So that is how the schedule stacks up here. It's not, I don't know, a lot of these teams are pretty bad in this first year. I think we'll probably be the Saints should be better than we are. Yeah, see, the Saints are better than we are, but not by a ton, so I think that is probably a winnable game here. The Dolphins, I think, are better in a lot of different areas, just maybe not offensively, but their defense is worlds better than ours is, so we probably will lose both of these games. The Colts, again, better team in a lot of ways. Their offense is so much better, so their offense should probably beat us in both games. But the Steelers are in a rough spot this time. Yeah, it's kind of a wash. The Jets, I don't know about the Jets. Oh, the Jets are very good compared to us. I thought we might be on par with the Jets, but I guess not. But the Chargers, we could probably win this game. Their offense is a lot better too, but I don't know. So we'll look at it. We'll see. There's not a ton of winnable games right now up front on our schedule that I'm confident about. I could see us maybe winning like 2 to 4 games, which that might get us fired. And if that's the case, I'll just make the same coach again. We'll just bypass it. We'll just go with it. It'll be okay. But that is what we're going to do for the first video. And then as far as scheduling goes, I'm going to do this one like the Bengals series. I'm going to feature 2 games in a video, and I'm going to try and do all the games. I'm not going to try and sim around and skip games. That might change as we get further into the series. But for right now, I plan to do all 16 games, and we'll just do 2 games of video. So if one game gets like scoring gets out of hand and there's overtime and stuff, we might just do a single game, and I might skim through just to keep up with a good pace, try and get through the years as quickly as possible. But I do plan on doing this series for a very long time. So outside of football season, once the Super Bowl happens in February, I still plan on probably doing this Bills series. So time and how many videos this takes isn't super concerning to me. So we're going to try and stick with that. But yeah, when we come back, you should expect to see the Saints and the Dolphins game. So we'll get into that into the very next video. But thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed this Bills series. Again, I tried to go a little bit newer, but I just like these older games a little bit more. So we'll give this a real good try here, and then I promise we'll try and get some newer Madden on the channel. Maybe we'll revisit Madden 05 and try that one again. I was starting to get the hang of it by the end of the Raiders thing, but drafting I just could not do. So I knew that if I continue that series into like a decade long, the team would get so bad, I don't even know if I could fix it. So hopefully it's not a problem in this game, since the draft is a lot easier. It's the last game before they implemented player scouting, so all the overalls are just what they are. You don't need a scouter. There's no mechanic to drafting. You just draft the players, the BPA. That's all. So hopefully we can build this team pretty quickly here and have a nice, fun turnaround. Maybe win a Super Bowl or 2, something that the Bills struggled to do. And I'm gonna quit rambling because we're already getting close to 40 minutes. But thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope to see you guys in the next video when we play the Saints and the Dolphins.